fantasy forecast.
All right, the first matchup I want to look at here is the Jaguars traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Texans are all but assured of that division title unless 17 ping pong balls bounce the right way for the Indianapolis Colts and Josh Freeman. So we've got a matchup that we'll see our fantasy darling Blake Bortles in. We'll see Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, who had big weeks last week. We've got Julius Thomas. What are we taking away from this game? We don't have any concerns about guys sitting here. So, is there anybody that's in debate? I guess the running back position in Jacksonville would be the most up in the air situation and circumstance we need to pay attention to.
I don't think that they're going to necessarily sit him, obviously
Yeldon.
they're not going to sit Yeldon or Robinson because of playoff implications, but as a fantasy owner, and we'll get to this in a little bit, I would sit them because the Houston Texans' run defense has just been fantastic. Now, the one question here is whether or not Houston would sit anybody. I think because it's an early game, they won't be able to. So I'm confident in being unconfident in Denard Robinson. I don't like that play.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah, against Houston, I would not like to play Denard Robinson.
We do expect him to be the starting running back
as of
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It hasn't panned out yet for Robinson since he's gotten the opportunity, and this is a bad matchup. So I like Jason's take there.
Certainly.
As far as the guys, I mean, Bortles, Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns, these are pretty close to must-play guys, but you better lower your expectations. Bortles has a tendency to struggle when it's a tough matchup. I'm still playing him. And I'm still absolutely playing Allen Robinson, but all the Jaguars are guys I play every week.
Now,
but I'm
including
not
Julius Thomas,
yeah,
because Julius Thomas
on
only
that
had 2 catches last week in that kind of great game where it looked like he would be, he's facing a defense that can't guard the tight end, and he was 2 for 12.
It's one of those situations though where you have to start these guys because of what they can do, but between Allen Hurns and Julius Thomas, probably only one of those guys will get it done, and so you're hoping it's your guy. Yeah, but I'm still going to start both of them.
And I'm fine with Julius Thomas as well. Julius Thomas last week, one of the things that happened is there were long touchdowns. Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns,
not red zone situation.
Exactly, and so when you get those long touchdowns, you're not really using your tight end yet. That's not the type. He had a 90-yard touchdown, Allen Robinson did, and so that takes an entire drive away and game flow away from Julius Thomas.
All right, another morning game that I'm really excited about. The Jets go to Buffalo to take on the Bills. This is an exciting game. The Jets have the playoffs on the line. They need to win. Fantasy-wise, I think the story here still needs to be the Bilal Powell, Chris Ivory discussion, because Powell now, last week on the ground, 7 carries for 56 yards. Okay, we know what he can do through the air. Last 4 weeks, 8 catches, 5 catches, 7 catches, 5 catches. He is the kind of release valve. Fitzpatrick's in trouble. The pass rush is closing in. We're going to dump it to Bilal Powell, and he's looked spry. He's at double digits in 5 of the last 6 games, and he's outperformed Chris Ivory, certainly in PPR leagues. So is he the guy that you have both on your team? You're just starting Bilal Powell now?
I have to start Bilal Powell over Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory now in 4 straight games has been disappointing. He had 1 decent game 3 ago, and that's his only double-digit fantasy game in the last 4 games. So coming in here, it's hard for me. If I had both of those guys, I would want to go with the guy who seems to be more involved regardless of game flow. If the game is up, he's still involved. If the game is down, he has to be involved in Bilal Powell. So Powell's the guy that I would rather play if I had both.
Yeah, the one thing that you really can't expect or hope from Powell is a multi-touchdown type of performance that you've seen a couple times from Ivory. That being said, I'm with you guys. I would start Bilal Powell. Ivory is trending down right now, and you even saw Ridley he's been worked into the mix a little bit.
And remember when we had Nick Mangold on the show early this year, how much love he gave Bilal Powell. I mean, he was saying that guy is amazing. And then we asked about Stephen Ridley, and he's like,
No, we asked about
who was
Stacy.
Oh, that's right. Zach Stacy. He's like,
he plays football too. He's on our team.
But he gave a ton of love to Bilal Powell, so that team believes in him. The players believe in him. The offensive line.
Bilal Powell, we talk all about their potential in the playoffs, the Jets. Oh, they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick and Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker and Darrell Revis and this defense. It's a guy like Bilal Powell that makes a difference on those playoff teams. There are certain role player type guys that are better football players than they are fantasy football players. And I think he's one of those, even though he's performed a little bit in fantasy, that's even better.
And the list that I talk about of names, people, you write them down right now because it's still fresh in your mind going into next year. Bilal Powell is going to be maybe not drafted or drafted very late. Chris Ivory will be the guy who's taken because people see, he finished as a top 10 running back. Bilal Powell will not do that. But he's a guy that you should take later in your draft. As of right now, team things change all the time, but he's a guy that you need to remember going into your draft next year.
Those are the guys that drop so far down, whether it's a Danny Woodhead or
exactly.
Charles Sims or somebody who's very productive but just doesn't have the flash of being a number one back that can be a steal in the mid-round. So that's a great point. Now, on the other side of the ball at the running back position, I really want to know your guys' takes on that situation because Carlos Williams is going to carry the mail again, 17 for 76 and a touchdown, but now you have to face the Jets.
I was going to put Carlos Williams down as my sit of the week until I made it Robinson, just because you have Gillislee, who looks very good, who's going to be splitting carries with him against the Jets defense, which is the number 2 ranked defense in the league. That combination of things says to me I'd rather have other options. Carlos Williams is still a startable guy. He had a great game last week, so I didn't make him my sit completely. But if you have other guys, if you've got, those middling guys that aren't sexy and you don't really like the Frank Gores and Lamar Millers, I would rather play them.
Quick note, though. LeSean McCoy has not been officially ruled out of this game.
Yes.
We need to remind ourselves of that fact, despite the MCL tear. He hasn't.
Stop.
Now, Gillislee, also to your point, they're not splitting carries. Williams had twice as many carries as Gillislee last week, but Gillislee has been the kind of explosion-type guy, touchdowns in 3 straight weeks. Wide receiver-wise, I don't like Watkins. You're going to hear that later in the show, our sits of the week. Watkins is my sit because I don't like the matchup. But on the other side of the ball, you're starting Marshall, you're starting Decker.
Every week.
Nothing to debate.
Yeah, every week they are must-start guys.
Okay.
And we saw LeSean McCoy have some very solid success against this team, against the Jets, when they played earlier in the year. Now, so that's something that people might look to and say, the Buffalo, maybe they can still have success. Carlos Williams does not run like LeSean McCoy. Shady is agile and a speed guy to the edge, and that's how he got it done. So I'm not sure that Carlos can have that type of success.
Quarterbacks in this game, Ryan Fitzpatrick. What are you doing with him?
I like Ryan Fitzpatrick a lot. In this game, he is stream-worthy. He is start-worthy. I think he's going to be a quarterback 1 this week and is absolutely fine to play. The Bills' defense, especially through the air, does not scare me. When you've got those weapons, it's almost a guarantee that he's going to throw 2 touchdowns, right? Because Brandon Marshall's got to get his, and Eric Decker's got to get his.
I think they've done that together something like 10 times this year, something ridiculous.
Absurd. Eric Decker has not caught a touchdown in 3 games on the year. The entire year, there's only been 3 games where he hasn't caught his obligatory 1 touchdown.
Hey, he took it to the very end last week, too. The last play of the game in overtime.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at Fitzpatrick. Let's see. In the last 6 weeks, in the last 5 weeks, he only has a 1 single touchdown game.
He's played great. Now, on the other side, Tyrod Taylor, what are your thoughts in this game? Stay away?
There's probably a better streaming option.
That's my feeling.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't like this matchup. When you take away, like you were hinting at, Andy, the number 1 option in Sammy Watkins, and Charles Clay is on the injured reserve, and Robert Woods is on the injured reserve, what are you going to do against a great Jets defense? You never know with a guy that can scramble like that. He can make plays out of nothing, and he could end up with a good week. But before, when we don't have revisionist history and we're trying to predict these things, you cannot say Tyrod Taylor's a good play for this upcoming week. There's everything stacked against
There's no argument for that. Yeah. The Redskins, let's move on. The Redskins go to Dallas to take on the Cowboys and Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Well, the Redskins, however, have locked everything up. And so the truth is you can't start a Redskin this week unless you're talking about somebody down the depth chart. A Jamison Crowder could be a PPR guy this week, in my opinion, because you're going to see Deshaun Jackson and Garcon probably off the field. Jamison Crowder could be the guy that comes in, and Clay Aikens is I said Clay Aiken again.
That's delightful.
Kamar,
you meant Ruben stuttered.
Kamar Aikens his way.
If I were invisible.
Oh my God. I don't remember even when the weird Clay Aiken, Kamar Aiken joke happened. I think it was Twitter between me and some listener.
Because I have not heard this joke.
Yeah. Me and a listener were joking around about Clay Aiken and Kamar Aiken, and now it has come out in the way that things come out on the show.
Classic Andy.
I speak too fast. All right, so Jamison Crowder, I'm going to throw his name out there as one of those guys that I think if you needed to get crazy, because in Week 17 you're required to start somebody strange, then Jamison Crowder's the guy.
Would you start Clay Aiken?
Clay Aiken, he can't press coverage problem.
Yeah.
Problems with
Serious problem.
Press coverage.
Pretty much guaranteed concussion.
Yeah, he's got issues. All right.
This is when the world goes haywire, and all of a sudden Clay Aiken is singing the national anthem at that game.
Yes.
and our brains explode.
Yes. Let's hope for that. All right. What do we do with Darren McFadden in this game against the Redskins? I kind of like him.
Oh yeah. McFadden has turned back the clock.
The hands of time.
And he has been.
If I could turn back time.
We have lost complete control of this show. But McFadden, the Washington is not a very good run defense to start. McFadden has been great. The Washington defense, I'm sure that will have some starters rested. And so I think McFadden is a very solid play.
All right. I don't really want to talk about this game anymore.
Yeah, I do like the Cowboys defense in this game.
That's a very good point because they've been stout against good teams, and now they might be facing. They're at home. They're facing a team that might be.
Put it this way: the Cowboys are favored.
I was going to say the Cowboys are going to win
Vegas.
They're going to win this game.
Yeah, the Cowboys defense is very good.
And for Washington, nothing has been officially declared yet of guys who are sitting. Let's say they get crazy and they say, "Oh, we're going to play our guys for a half or whatever." I'd probably still play Jordan Reed if they say he's going to play for a half, because I'd rather play him for a half than
that's
than real Schmo.
The sad, disheartening part of, we don't want to come on here and disparage your league for playing in Week 17, but we certainly recommend, and you would have heard it in the beginning of the season, to play to Week 16. This is why you play a whole season with Jordan Reed on your team. You should get to use him.
Yeah. and I disagree that I'm fine disparaging those leagues. I think I would do a public service announcement and say, for next year, change your league. You're listening. You're realizing as you Google for information this week, oh, there's not a whole lot of information out there. Oh, places have stopped doing fantasy football. They're shut down because last week is the week that should be the championship.
All right. Well, there you go. This next matchup, the Steelers go to Cleveland to take on the Browns in my...
What?
Andy's almost upset of the week.
What?
Get ready for the divisional matchup of Johnny Manziel and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, the Steelers' season is on the line, but
I can't even talk right now.
I didn't want to watch this game, and now that's the only game I want to watch. I got to see how the Browns do it.
Mcfadden set to remain head coach for the Cleveland Browns.
Allegedly.
The Browns, again, they competed with the Seahawks in Seattle. This is a chance for them to keep a division rival from the playoffs. I don't think the line is right. We'll find out. But right now, the Browns
are... It's in Cleveland, right?
Yes,
it
is.
It is. So
okay.
Big Ben on the road.
It's in Cleveland, Big Ben on the road. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, disparage the fantasy potential of Big Ben and Antonio Brown. And
okay, let me ask you this because I almost asked it earlier. Big Ben on the road against a great matchup for the Browns, or Blake Bortles, because we had so many of those questions. So many rosters have those two guys on it. Or So
That's
Big
a
Ben or
great-
Blake
great
Bortles?
question.
Or this week, Blake Bortles
me-
on the road in a terrible matchup.
Yes,
I will
that's-
go with Big Ben.
I'll go with Big Ben.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure here.
No, it's a great point because last week Blake Bortles was great and Big
don't-
Ben's numbers were horrible, and so you look at those, you go, I just got to play Bortles.
Exactly, and that's what we're trying to avoid is chasing those points.
Yes, I agree. So fantasy wise, we talked about Isaiah Crowell as he's gotten some carries lately. Would you start Crowell over Carlos Williams?
Both bad matchups, so I'm going to say no.
Okay.
No. I think Carlos is the better guy. So in bad matchups, I'll go with Carlos.
And so on the other side, D'Angelo Williams, you're starting him. That's done.
Yep.
A done deal.
Yep.
You're not starting a wide receiver, a pass catcher from Cleveland other than Gary Barnidge.
That would be correct.
And then on the other side of the ball, I have no confidence in Heath Miller. I don't think anybody's wanting to roll him out there. They might see the matchup and say, oh, okay, the Browns aren't great against the pass. I don't like Heath Miller. He's had pretty much 3 straight weeks that are disappointing. So, he had that 11-catch week that made me think, okay, maybe they're going to start using him. Big Ben's back. It didn't happen, so no reason to roll him out there with better flex or streaming options at tight end. Martavis Bryant, does he fix what was going on this week?
Yeah, I think he does fix it. He's been pretty solid all year, and this last game wasn't his game. Players have that. This last game wasn't Big Ben's game. That they struggled entirely. Antonio Brown didn't have a good game. I think Martavis Bryant, clearly he was terrible this last week, but I think that the Steelers fix it. They need this game to get into the playoffs. I don't have this as my almost upset of the week. I think that this is against a team that is not as good. The Browns just can't hang with them. They have to get it done. So I'm fine with Bryant.
How good are the Ravens? How good are the Ravens?
They're better than the Browns.
Are they?
I would say they're better than Browns. Yes.
Okay. Is that because they beat the Steelers last week?
No, before then, I would say they've been close. The reason that they've been such a good fantasy defense to play against is because they've been close in so many games.
I would agree that the Ravens are better than the Browns.
Yeah.
And they're better coached.
Yeah.
For a big game, a divisional game. That being said, the Steelers, with their season kind of on the line last week, lost to a 5-win team, which was a 4-win team at the time.
And I think that that's part of what plays into them coming out gangbusters this week.
You could be absolutely right, and that is why it is my almost upset.
Yeah, I like the almost part. I think the game is closer than people think. I believe the Steelers will get it done, but
as do I.
But I don't think it's going to be just a shutout.
All right.